So I'll go ahead and call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. Today is Monday, August 21st. This meeting is being conducted remotely via Zoom and is being recorded by Area 58. In attendance is Cheryl Zerla-Burke, Jim Walters, Frank Johnston, and myself, Todd Dargy. And absent is Michael Bennett. So the first order of business for tonight was the acceptance of the Finance Committee meeting minutes from July 17th, our last meeting. I know that those have been disseminated. I'm sure everyone's had a chance to read those by now. Any comments or questions or updates? Those minutes?
No, these are the revised minutes, Todd, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Hearing no discussion, I guess, would somebody then like to make a motion to approve the minutes from July 17th?
Motion to approve minutes from July 17th.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jim. Roll call vote. Frank?
Yes, on the July 17th revised minutes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. Motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda was the Finance Committee discussion and vote for William J. Smith's appointment to the vacant Finance Committee position. So as you recall, I'm sure we interviewed Mr. Smith back on July 17th. I thought it went very well. It seems he's going to be retiring from the force soon. He seems like a great candidate, had a lot of great experience, and obviously, dedicated public servant as well. So I think he would be a great fit for the committee, but definitely want to open it up to thoughts and opinions from the rest of you.
I'm in favor. I thought he interviewed well. Fact is, he's been in municipal government for quite a few years for the police department as a police chief. He's got 10 years working on budgets, he said, and he's also going to be available for us, which would be good, especially when he retires. I believe he said in the first of the year or so, by the time he gets a replacement in order. So that'll work out good going into budget season.
Yeah, agreed. Jim, any thoughts?
I think overall he's a good candidate. To dovetail into what Frank had said, his time in municipal government gives him a good aspect. I think the only thing I didn't get an answer on completely was as the Finance Committee is here to to review stuff and to allocate funds, how will that experience help him being the one to critically review the budget requests instead of just asking for the money. That's my only concern, because I think that's going to be a hard turn to be on the other side of the table, asking people to effectively not justify their spend and how efficiently they're using the money currently. That's it.
Yeah, no, agreed. And really the assignments are just the liaisons, right? So collectively we review as well. So, but it will be a change in approach, certainly, to look at it objectively and try to, challenge, I guess, if you will, some of the requests, right? Just best interest of town, which is why we're here. But great points. Cheryl, anything addition to add? Or
just what both Frank and Jim said.
Okay. All right, so it seems like the committee's in favor. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to talk to Michael about it. So I'm not sure what his opinion is of it, but it sounds like we have a quorum here anyway, so it sounds like we're in favor for Mr. Smith. So that being said, would somebody like to make a motion to recommend Mr. Smith for appointment for the vacant Finance Committee position?
So moved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a second?
Second.
Frank, roll call vote. Jim?
Yes, in favor of Mr. Smith joining the Finance Committee.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes, and Mr. Smith joining the Finance Committee.
and myself is a yes as well. Motion carries unanimously. And then, as you know, the next step will to be approved by the appointment committee, which we'll get into a little more discussion on that further down on the agenda here. This is there. So as far as the next agenda item is the chairman update on the talent bank forms for the currently vacant finance committee position. So this is the second position that's there, which is the resignation from Jonathan Falling. So that rec was posted on August 1st to the website and broadcasted out. As of today, August 21st, I haven't seen anything come in regards for interest there. So hopefully, and it's somewhat of a bad time, I imagine, too, right? Being summer, folks are, I'm sure, edge of that nature. But hopefully, we'll get some talent bank forms soon, and then we can come on the docket for interview and fill that position by early fall. Right. So again, like we've done in the past, if there's anyone that you know within the community that might be interested in the position, I'll certainly feel I'll encourage them to talent bank form. It is great if somebody has like budgeting experience, as we discussed. However, it's not a requirement, right? We want also the community to be as diverse as possible. So anyone that has interest, I would definitely highly recommend that they submit an interest, and we have a discussion regarding whether or not they would fit, or whether or not it'd be a mutual fit for that person. And so definitely don't want to discourage anyone from submitting a talent. All right, any thoughts or questions on that at all? Okay, all right, so then moving on then for the agenda, the next item was the Finance Committee decision and vote for reappointment of Todd Dargy, myself as the chairman of the Finance Committee. So my appointment is up this year, so we'll need to be reappointed by the appointment committee, which will have to, somebody will have to represent the committee in that appointment committee, which we'll discuss as part of the next bullet. But that person should be voting on behalf of the committee's vote. So we want to just make sure that the committee agreement with my reappointment as the chairman of the Finance Committee, which would then assuming that it gets approved through the committee itself, would extend for an additional 3-year period.
Is it 3 years, Todd? Is it 3 years or just one?
It would be 3, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's typically a 3. It just depends on the vacancy itself. So they're kind of spread out, so that way we don't have everyone. Right. So you may come in and you may get just a 1 year to start off. William J. Smith's will be a 3 year as well, because that's on the same schedule as mine. So both of them would be appointed for a 3 year.
So were you just filling out the balance of Tom's appointment when we appointed you last year?
No, so I was already on the committee, so my appointment was before, so that doesn't change my appointment as a whole. My role changed from a general committee member to the Finance Committee, but my appointment period didn't change. If that makes sense. However, with that being said, though, Tom's period was the same as mine, regardless. Okay. So even if we did do that, it would still just there wouldn't have been a change. If that makes sense, or maybe all right, so with that being said, obviously it's for my reappointment, so I will naturally abstain from the discussion and the vote. So I would actually like to turn it over to you, Cheryl, to host the discussion and conduct a vote for my reappointment, and then you can turn it back to me, I guess, once you guys are complete.
Todd, do we have enough for a quorum tonight to do that?
We
so you're
do.
going to have to abstain?
We do, yeah, because we're short 2 people, so the quorum is still going to be the majority vote. So
okay.
No, quorum goes off of all membership of the board. It doesn't go off of just the existing membership. So if you have a 7-member committee, quorum is still based on 7.
So several years ago, when the finance committee was having a hard time finding members, there was a vote taken to count quorum as a quorum of those present. Whether that was legal but that was the vote that was taken by the finance committee, and
Right.
it was back when Gordon was chairman, so I'm not sure.
Okay, do you know if it was ever submitted to the AG's office?
I do not believe it was, no.
Okay,
So, I mean,
You can, if you wanna take it, we'll, operate under the idea that that's valid with what Sandy said, and we'll just double check, that that's all set. And if not, we can put it on the next agenda.
okay, all right, that's fine, yeah. All right, so, Cheryl, I guess then you wanna go over to read this item?
Is there any discussion? Jim, Frank? I approve.
I'm good to go.
I approve.
Get it done.
So we need a motion.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be best just to have a formal record of it, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So
We need a
Cheryl, you want
motion.
to put a motion forward?
I make a motion that we approve Todd Dodgy for a 3-year appointment.
Second,
Roll call of voters. I vote yes. Jim,
Yes, reappointing Mr. Dargy to chair
Frank?
the finance committee.
yes, for Mr. Todd Dargy as chairman of the finance committee.
and Todd, do you get a vote?
No, I would abstain because it'd be for myself, so that's where it gets a little tricky with the 4 folks, so, you know, Cody will come back to us. If we have to retake it, then we'll do so with Michael and, on there, so, next session.
Okay.
All right, sounds
Uh,
good.
So we'll put this as, let me just make a call here actually before I forget. Tentative item for the agenda for the next meeting, and then we can drop it off Cody once that we're good to go. And you know, typically I think so it kind of leads to the next bullet, right, or the next agenda item, which was the finance committee discussion and vote on the selection of the finance committee member to represent the finance committee appointment committee. So the finance committee appointment committee is made up of the moderator, the chairman of the board of selectmen, and then a designee of the finance committee. And so historically, that's been the chairman. And I think, you know, the chairman historically has just voted. And so I think as a best practice, we should, you know, conduct a vote amongst ourselves. And then that way we ensure that whoever's voting as part of that committee on behalf of the finance committee is, you know, relaying the vote of the committee itself, right? And not just, you know, assuming are on board with the selection. So, so that's why I wanted to just to kind of formalize that process and, you know, my vote. With that being said, you know, I won't be able to represent the committee given that I am up for an appointment. So someone will need to fill that role for this year in my absence because I have to abstain from it, obviously. So, you know, I don't know if anyone had a specific dire interest in participating in that role. My thought would be that it should default to Cheryl as, you know, the vice chair. But if Cheryl, if you're unable to or don't want to, then certainly someone else could be appointed.
No, that's fine. I'll do it.
Okay. All right. So would somebody like to make a motion then to recommend that, or a motion for Cheryl, I guess, to be the finance committee member for the finance committee appointment committee?
I'll make a motion to have Cheryl be part of the finance committee to represent the appointment committee. Cheryl to be on the finance committee appointment committee.
Thank you, Frank. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, Frank,
Yes, for Cheryl to be on the Finance Appointment Committee.
Jim,
Yes, for Cheryl to be on the Finance Committee, Appointment Committee.
and, and myself is a yes as well. So motion carries unanimously. I guess Cody will just need a confirmation on that as well, that, you know, the three of us have reached the quorum vote for that as well.
That's a
Yeah, I'm
lot of
gonna look
writing
into
on a
it.
business card.
From my initial review here, I don't think you can do that. My understanding is the only way you can change quorum is if there's a special act or some sort of legislation that allows for a specific board or committee within a town to have a smaller quorum. But I'll double check with council tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, and I think that just emphasizes the burning need to update the bylaw, right, to change it to from the four, because, you know, especially where we have resignations and stuff, like, you know, could very well, you know, be standard practice that we may only have four people or whatever, so getting a quorum might be in far between cases.
Yeah,
But, all right, so I'll put that on the agenda for next time. We're gonna have to redo these votes, I guess, sounds like, but address that in the next meeting, I guess. So as far as, well, I guess, Cody, do you know, has there been any discussion, I guess, as far as a date for the appointment committee?
no, I'll reach out to you, Cheryl, tomorrow, with Bert and John Bruno, who are the other members of the committee, and we'll set a date. We were just waiting for Finance Committee to choose their designee.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so then, but if we have to redo all this, then we'll need to squeeze in another meeting maybe just to get that done, so we don't delay the any further, I guess, so.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
Okay. Okay, all right, great. All right, so that was that. The next item on the agenda was the review and update on open meeting law complaints. So as you may recall, there was a complaint from Patrick Higgins from Northport, Alabama on June 28th, 2023, alleging that the committee's chair failed to announce the names of the committee members who participated remotely during the committee's May 23rd meeting.
Oh,
So
not that one, Todd. We already responded to that one.
Yeah, no, I know. I was just closing it out for the committee members
Oh,
to,
sorry.
yeah, because from our last meeting, the ruling was still open. So so that complaint, Katie, just for the record, was OML 2023-1 119 119, and so the Attorney General did rule on that on July 24th, just for the committee's awareness, and I did forward along the correspondence also that, but you know, stating that the video of the committee's May 23rd meeting clearly showed that at the start of the meeting, which was held entirely remotely, that each committee member appearing separately on screen by video, the chair announced the name of each committee member participating remotely. Nothing further was required, and then went on to just state that they discouraged the filing of open meeting law complaints that include allegations contrary to clear facts, and in particular where the office has explained to the complainant on several prior occasions that similar announcements satisfy the requirements. So, so that one was closed on July 24th without further action. Subsequently, on the following day, on July 25th, we did, however, receive a new complaint, open meeting law complaint from Mr. Higgins' office for our July 17th meeting, where we listed candidate review on the agenda, but we didn't disclose the name of the candidate, was Smith, as you're aware. So, you know, Mr. Higgins is correct in this complaint, and, you know, we are required to list the name of the individuals on the agenda, which we failed to do. You know, that week, you know, was the agenda was done in haste, so it was, the agenda was late. And then so there was a scramble to get it out, and so in that process, you know, it was an administrative failure to update that the name on there. So so we've come up with a few actions to correct that for going forward. So, you know, the agenda template that we're using has been updated to capture the names of any and all participants going forward. So that will be, or it has been implemented, effective immediately. Additionally, we wanted to, and I talked to Katie with this offline, to kind of tighten up the process for, having the agendas out and things of that nature. So we're coming up with a firm schedule for going forward for the agenda dissemination to allow for, proper time for the committee to review before the posting. So the new process will be end of day on Monday. So like tonight, post the meeting, prelim agenda will be released by the FinCom secretary to the finance committee members, and then also to Sandy, the town accountant, and Cody as the town administrator. And so the idea for that is that on Tuesday, by end of day, the finance committee and the town employees will opine with any edits or additions to the agenda. So, we'll certainly still be responsible for the agenda, but adding Cody and Sandy on there too, where they have the capacity, we'll just put another set of eyes on it. Hopefully, something where we may have went, astray, and then also gives them an opportunity to review the agenda in case they want to add to our agenda or gets posted. So everybody will respond back by end of day on Tuesdays, and then by end of day Wednesday, the FinCom secretary will submit the agenda for the post site. And so that's, typically due by Thursday, 2 p.m., which is really the problem that we kind of faced, because we were really, had been for several months, kind of releasing that agenda on the morning of Thursday. Katie and I both work and with vacations and everything else. Sometimes that will want to allow us the opportunity, time to get that post or released on end of day Wednesday, and not run into that deadline crunch of scrambling to that 2 p.m. deadline on Thursday. So that'll be the new process going forward. Like I said, so we'll release the prelim tonight, post this meeting. So I think what we'll do going forward is in like the last bullet or agenda item, we usually discuss the next meeting planning. So starting tonight and going forward, we'll just spend a little more time on that as far as like what we think the agenda will look like for the next meeting. Katie will document that and share that out for folks. And then again, we'll have a Tuesday to respond back. And that's for the meetings when we're having them weekly, right? Certainly in this case, there'll probably be a few week lag. So, we'll send another updated prelim agenda on the Monday, the week prior to the next session. And then you'll have until that Tuesday, if that makes sense. So that way it just gets the agenda out there up front, and then, gives folks time to, sit on it. And if there's something we want to add between now and the next meeting, we have that luxury to do that. So it'll be due the Tuesday before coming session, as far as any update requests or edits. So does all that make sense? I guess any thoughts, questions, concerns on that from anyone?
It allows time for last minute changes as well, Todd.
Exactly, yeah.
If Cody's got something, or if Sandy's got something that we need to get on pretty quick that comes in last minute to them as well, So I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, so yeah, so we're gonna go by that schedule for going forward, and then we can always make adjustments to it as we go, right? If if needed. But so that was the second item, and then the third item is the finance committee members just to take open meeting law training. So on that, but everybody can just take a refresher course on that. It'd be helpful. So I think part of these open meeting law complaints definitely do, there is an element of learning from experience type of thing. So I think this certainly has, raised the awareness on, on disseminating the agenda properly, right, with all of that. So hopefully from all of these various actions will answer of this.
So we need to go ahead and retake the open meeting law training.
Yeah, as you have time,
Okay.
Frank,
Yeah.
obviously, I know vacation times and things of that nature in the summer. So as you have the capacity, take it, and then just let me know. I guess once I can, I'll back to Cody.
Yeah, can we get a link? Can you send us a link for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send it out, tomorrow morning.
Okay, thanks, Cody.
All right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns on any of that before we move to the next item?
Todd, you just need to vote to have me,
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
send
Yeah,
a
that's right.
response.
Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot. So, so just like last time, right? So, Cody will respond back to the complaint. And so we did get an extension because, we exceeded the time, but because our meeting was not scheduled until, obviously today. So we have until, I think it's the 23rd to respond. So we want to do that tomorrow. So want to just take a quick vote to allow Cody to respond to the complaint based on, what we discussed tonight. So, would somebody like to make a motion, allow Cody to respond to the open meeting law complaint?
So moved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you, Frank. Roll call vote, Jim,
Yes, to have Cody respond.
Cheryl,
Yes,
Frank,
yes, to have Cody respond to the open meeting law.
and myself is a yes as well. Motion carries unanimously. All right, so then moving on in the agenda here, the correspondence and as may arise. I haven't seen any correspondence. I don't know if anyone else has anything that's noteworthy. Who knows? Okay. Public participation, there are no public dialed in remotely, so I think that one. Which then brings us to the next meeting planning. So as far as our third Monday cadence, that would bring us to September 18th as our next meeting. I guess
When?
it'd be Monday, September 18th. I guess is that gonna pose any problems, you think, Cody, with the?
I am actually in London, that week.
You guys might want to do the 11th and then again on the 25th. We need to start working on the capital plan.
Yeah.
So September would be a good time to go back to the 2 meetings a month.
Okay.
And usually it's the 1st and 3rd, but because the 1st is a holiday,
Yeah.
September 4th, if you want to do the 11th and the 25th, that might be a good idea.
Are you? Yeah. Are you guys okay with that, or we could try to maybe squeeze something in the first week, I guess, if we were to move the day from Monday, but
yeah.
what are your thoughts? What's your schedules look like, I guess?
Cody, is that going to be a problem for your reappointment vote? Because if you have to redo it?
If we have to redo it, I'll coordinate with Todd. Maybe we can set up a quick special meeting, like
Okay.
5 minutes, literally.
So is everybody okay with just sticking with the 11th and the 25th, I guess, or we
I'm
could
good
try?
with the 11th,
Yeah,
25th.
I'm fine with the 11th and the 25th works for me.
Well, you, Jim?
Well, so does that mean in October we're going to move back to the first and third Mondays? Because then that puts 2 Mondays consecutively.
No, I think we'd probably stick with the second and fourth,
No,
probably. That's the
no,
thing. So
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm traveling at the end of the September, so I should be okay on the 25th.
okay.
And we'll have Mr. Smith on board. Mike will be around.
Well,
so
that's what's all dependent on the appointment committee. So
Most.
so let me go through the list. These are the items. I have a bunch of items jotted down. So let me just ramble through this list, and then let me know if you guys think of something else you want to add to the agenda as well. But so the acceptance of the meeting minutes from tonight, 8/21, be obviously first. Then either an update or the welcoming of Mr. Smith as the newest member, hopefully, of the finance committee. So again, all that's dependent on the appointment committee meeting. So that's a tentative item for now. We'll update that accordingly. Again, I'll give the update on the talent bank forms. Hopefully there'll be an update next session. I did want to cover the fiscal 25 year department budget assignments, especially if Mr. Smith is able to join. I think that would be a good opportunity to start planning for that. Then we had the wage study update, from Town Administrator Cody Haddad. And then, one item I jotted down here actually was, the committee liaison updates, so I think that's something we maybe want to add as like a standing agenda item as we go, maybe in months. No, I'm on the capital planning, and Jim has a committee assignment as well, so maybe, it might be worthwhile to capture that going forward. And then I have, like, I put the, for the reappointment for myself, and then also, Cheryl to represent the finance committee as items.
So
All right.
Todd,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So from an agenda perspective, do the discussion items need to be that specific, or can we create general categories that we can carry forward through each meeting?
they have to be pretty specific. The law says that a member of the public should be able to look at your agenda and know exactly what you're going to discuss.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah, and that's why in some cases you might notice that's a little on the wordy side, and I just done that intentionally just to be, you know, really cautious, if you will, in that regard. So.
So Todd, for the agendas, you may want to just add capital budget and operating budget process. I'd like to go over the process, for this year, and maybe make some tweaks as needed on how we handle that process, as far as budget memo going on, but like we can discuss it at the meeting. And then capital planning as well. We're going to actually undertake capital planning. So I'd like to go over that process with you guys to keep you aware. And then obviously it'll go to capital planning as well, but it would be good to discuss both of those probably at the 11th, the next meeting.
So would that be kind of more of just a capital planning overview, I guess, just to go through the overall plan, or I guess what are you specifically planning on covering with us on the capital front?
The process, so the process for capital budgeting. So we won't have a capital plan itself to go over yet, but
Yeah.
We're implementing a process that I'd like to go over with you guys.
Have the other departments, understanding what that's gonna take, Cody, as far as capital?
Yes, we did. We had a meeting on it, and we'll be walking them through everything. I don't want to violate the open meeting law during this meeting and have a discussion on it.
Sure.
But if we put it on the next agenda, we can go more in depth.
Okay,
on the
sounds good.
process.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so I documented those, so I guess, we'll pencil, so our next meeting, I guess, will be September 11th and then the 25th. And then Cody, I guess, so we'll just wait for your confirmation, I guess, that we're good, or if we need to stand up quick meeting just to revote those or just so we can make sure that we get the sooner the better we can get Mr. Smith involved.
Yeah, we'll have them involved for the next meeting, one way or another. We may
Okay.
just have to have another quick FinCom meeting prior to that, but I'll have an answer tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Go ahead, Frank.
Todd, regarding, I'm drawing a blank now, I'm sorry. A new member after August, we run out on the notification. Maybe we should include that in September as continuing that on as needed, or if needed, for a new finance committee member, if we don't do something by the end of August.
To extend the
Yeah.
opening, you mean?
Yes, extend the opening, or can we do
Yeah,
that?
well, I think it stays out there, right, Cody, until we decide to take it down, I guess, so, I mean,
Well, if you haven't, I'll touch base with you, Todd, come beginning of September. If you haven't gotten anything, we'll just
Yeah.
automatically repost it.
Okay.
Okay, because I thought we had a drop date of the end of August on that last posting.
Yeah, well, we did, but that's because we had the one recipient and then it did expire and then we decided to republish it just to give you know, a period of 30 days before we, you know, made
Okay.
the interview list, I guess. So but yeah, so I mean we haven't received anything yet. So I mean at this point it's more than likely that we're going to have to extend it, you know,
Yes.
a month or
Yes.
so. All right. Okay, all right. Anything else from anyone before we call it a night here?
So we're gonna do meetings on the 11th and 25th, correct?
That's correct, yep. So we'll just
Okay.
go to second and fourth Mondays, I guess.
Second and
Probably-
fourth
I mean,
Mondays moving forward, right?
second and fourth, yeah. I mean, for now, right? Then as we get, you know, at some point we'll start more frequently, and so we might adjust the schedule a bit. But for now, it'll be second and fourth Monday in September, and then we'll likely look at same for October.
Keep 'em at 6 o'clock and we're still gonna
Yep.
continue with Zoom.
Yep.
Okay.
So Cody, just one quick question, and I don't want to obviously color outside the lines here. But are the town departments prepared to start having these conversations in September?
No, we wouldn't have the conversation starting in September. We'll issue the budget memo.
Uh-huh.
You know, sometime, when do you usually issue it, Sandy? Typically October.
Actually,
Remember,
November.
right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we could issue that memo, but we can talk process, Jim, at the next meeting and.
Alright.
And then as we get closer, we'll have a draft memo that we'll bring to you guys for your review and we'll get it out, you know, end of October, sometime in November.
Sounds
Very
good.
All right. Anything else from anyone? Okay. Hearing nothing else, would somebody then like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you, Frank. Roll call vote. Jim,
Yes, to adjourn.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Frank,
yes to adjourn, please.
and myself is a yes. Meeting is adjourned at 6:43 PM.
Have a
Thanks,
good
everyone.
night.
You too.
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.